Ben Wise here, and today we'll talk about a new cycle that's coming up in the protocol. This is our 2022 season base prep cycle. So this is going to start on November 29th. This is going to take us all the way up to the start of the Open. So that is 11 weeks. So it's a fairly long cycle. We'll have different elements in it to kind of break it up, but we're kind of smashing it all into one versus trying to make it two short 6-week cycles and then not really getting great adaptations out of either. I think it's always a better option to run a longer cycle to get really good adaptations and not have to test as many times during that cycle. So a few things to set us up for the conversation as to what are going to be the main priorities. We'll get to that in a second. Just as it sounds, this is a base prep cycle. So it's for the entirety of the upcoming season. So the goal here is not to get every single person in tip-top shape for the Open, because that's not necessarily everyone's goal. We have people who are prepping for the Open, we have people who are prepping for quarterfinals or semifinals, all at different stages. So we need to be cognizant of what time of year we're most prepared to do well. And the goal here is to set you up for success regardless of which stage of the competition you actually plan to peak for. Right? I realize that the vast majority of people are either going to be peaking for the Open, they try to get through the quarters, or for the quarters to try to get through for semis. That's where the biggest bottlenecks in the season are for most people. So understanding that, that's kind of where we're going to be tailoring a lot of this to. That's sort of how we get these different priorities. So that being said, this cycle is really setting you up regardless of, again, which stage you're actually trying to peak for the rest of that season, right? So that season could include quarters, semis, all the way up through the games. However, it could also be like, I'm gonna do some off-season competitions. I'm gonna do other qualifiers during this time. Basically, we're setting you up to compete at its highest level that you can, right? That is the goal. So during the prep phase of that, we've spent all this time in the off-season building a lot more structured strength, powerlifting, the Olympic lifts, some strict gymnastics strength. We did that a lot in this last cycle. So we're kind of at a place now in our season where we can start to ramp things up to look more like what the sport is going to be tested like. So these are going to include qualities like battery, which is basically your ability to lift a heavy load again and again and again, right? So if you're in a Metcon with chest bar pull-ups, dumbbell snatches, and box jump overs, that you can hit clean and jerks as 85 or more %, and you can do that on a decent clock and a decent turnaround, right? We're not going to go to that yet all the time. However, we're starting to build those skills, right? So it might be fatigued intervals of Olympic weightlifting. Things that are going to, again, look more like the sport in the way that weightlifting is tested in the sport of CrossFit. So battery will be one. Gymnastics density, will start to build that. So intervals of various gymnastics movements, everything from like the big 5, so toes to bar, chest to bar muscle up, ring muscle up, handstand push-up, handstand walk. I combine muscle ups into one, that's why it's the big 5, not the big 6. But then also we need to keep touches on things like rope climbs, GHD sit-ups, and pistols, because again, if you're someone who's going through the quarterfinals, especially if you're an individual and you're not a masters athlete, that means that you're only gonna have like a week or two after the end of 22.3 to actually be able to prep for quarterfinals. So there's really a fast turnaround. There's not a lot of time to actually prepare. So what that means is you have to be ready for all of those skills going into the Open and training through the Open. So we're going to make sure we keep touches on all the movements that could come out in quarterfinals during our prep for the entire season, which could include obviously Open prep. So battery, gymnastics density. The last one is going to be, we could call it rate, right? So basically accumulating work at a sport-specific pace. And I mean this mainly for different movements that you'd see in CrossFit. So like box jump overs, toes to bar, dumbbell snatches, all of those kind of movements, right? Where it's often a fixed weight, it's thrusters, it's bar facing burpees, it's things that you've done before. They're fairly refined. It's a matter of, I need to be able to execute these at the level that I want to perform at, right? So it's important that I'm doing my training at the rate and at the paces in terms of turnover and maybe reps per minute, seconds per rep, all of those qualities that is necessary for me to perform at the level that I want to perform at. So we'll be seeing some silos, some individualization in the protocol of instances where, you know, based on if you're this level of athlete, you need to be completing 18 let's say dumbbell snatches per minute, right? You need to be doing at least 14 burpee box jump overs per minute if you want to finish at this level, right? Or if this is the kind of athlete you are, to make sure we get more specific with the prep, right? It's not good enough to just do a bunch of metcons, right? We will be doing sport work, right? We're going to continue with the name game and all of those things that we're going to be adding in. However, it's also important that you get down to the nitty-gritty of training at the specific speed and rate and at the density that you're going to be doing things. So those are the main 3 priorities: is fatigue strength with the battery, just getting up to the functional volume and be able to handle that for the gymnastics density side of things, and then rate accumulation at, again, the functional volume for the sport, trying to do that in a way that is smart and intelligent and doesn't just burn you out, because that's the other thing that happens a lot in competition prep. So those are the big highlights of what's coming up in this 2022 season base prep cycle. If you're someone who's watching this and you are not signed up for the protocol yet, you can get a 7-day free trial. You can check it out, see if you like it. Also, you can always reach out to me and I can answer any questions that you have. But if you're interested in that 7-day free trial, you go to zoarfitness.com/pro-trial. Claim your 7-day free week. And for everybody else, we'll see you in the protocol, in the whiteboard. Make sure you give us some good feedback. And yeah, we'll see you in our 2022 season base prep cycle.